So the biggest problem in oil painting for most people is how long it takes to dry. Well, what if I told you that there's a magic medium to make it dry within a day? And today I'm going to show you different factors which affects the drying time of an oil paint. So the colors we're going to be using for this experiment is burnt umber. So here is the canvas we're going to be showing you, and we're going to be doing the different drying times of each paint. The first one is lean medium, and then we have fat medium. So it's the lean over fat rule. And this one basically is, this just has a higher concentration of oil in it, linseed oil, whereas let's say the lean oil has a 50-50 ratio of oil and spike essence or some sort of turpentine, so it's a 50-50 ratio. The fat medium is a 75-25 ratio, meaning it has 75 oil and 25% spike essence. And then the last one is linseed oil. Linseed oil is 100% oil. So this one actually takes the longest to dry. And these ones are the pigments itself, so without any oil, but obviously these pigments are binded by oil naturally, hence being called oil paints. So the higher quality paints you have, like master paints like the Michael Harding ones I have here, means they have a higher concentration of pigments compared to the ratio of the oil inside it, so the binder. So these ones and other master grade oil paints, they're basically just all pigments and just a tiny smidge of oil to bind them, typically linseed. So let's get to it. And to make sure they're not tainted, we're going to be using different brush for each of them. That's just the raw paint itself. Smidge it right there. And we're going to brush it with this bristle brush, so it can be applied evenly on the canvas as if you were painting. That's about big enough. And then for the second one, I'm going to apply another smidge. I actually have my bottle right here where my lean medium goes. Actually, I'm running out low, but we can make it go. So just a dip right there, just to make it runny, enough to make it runny. As you can see the difference in the consistency right there. Lean is great to build up if you're building up layers. Dries quickly. I mean, this dries essentially within a day. This burnt umber is a semi-transparent, by the way. It's not opaque, but it's also not transparent, so it's just somewhere in the middle. And this is great for underpaintings, and this is really what I use for my underpaintings all the time in my first few layers. Now for the next one, another smidge. We're going to be adding the fat medium now. I also have a bottle for that. Now, fat medium is typically just used towards, let's say, the middle or towards the end of your painting, depending on how many layers you're going to be doing, because this takes longer to dry, but this is perfect to add that gloss. So when you want a glossy painting, it adds that, you know, the gloss effect, and it makes the colors pop out even more. So as you can see, this has a higher concentration of oil now. So it's not just as runny as a lean medium. That one has a little bit more minerals in it, as the Chelsea Classical Studio call it, the spike essence. So this one actually sticks to the paint much better than other pigments. So this is good once you've had, you know, maybe 2 to 3 layers of lean medium underneath, depending on how much you want to build and how much layers you want to include in your painting. So the fat medium is really towards the middle of your painting and towards the end of it. Beautiful consistency. And for the last one, we're going to be using the linseed oil. As you can see, with the amount of usage I have, the linseed oil is rarely really used. It's just towards the end of a painting. In comparison to my lean medium, look at that. This is really the foundation of most of my painting. That's why you can see so much usage in it. This is like the beginning of a relationship, and this is like the end of a relationship. Dip, dip, dip. Use it sparingly. This is just towards the end of a painting. Use it sparingly, like don't use too much, because oil takes so long to dry. That's why I say use this only towards the end, only really to add the details of your painting. And if you want to, you can even apply this as a glaze if you're using a lot of, you know, a few pigments, just a few paints, and use a lot of the linseed oil. So that is it. That's all of it done now. So just in case we forget, let's mark them up. So this is paint, paint with lean, paint with fat, paint with seed oil. As you can see, they're still all wet right now. We will see how quickly that dries. So this is the end of it. You can see right there. The one with just paint on its own, the one with lean, the one with fat, and the one with linseed oil. We'll see how they all finish separately. You can probably see they're all burnt umber, but they have different effects on them. When you see the lean, they're, you know, quite transparent. The paint with fat is quite opaque, and the paint with linseed oil has a similar effect as well, whereas the paint obviously on its own without anything else is the most opaque. So we'll see how quickly these paints dry and the difference in the drying time of these paints. So this is the result 24 hours later. So all the paints are dry now. The quickest one that dried was the one with lean at 6 hours. Then the next one is the fat with 9 hours. And then linseed oil at 15. And then the longest one is just be raw paint at 24 hours. Now let's test them. So that's the paint. I mean, it's not fully dry. I mean, it's dry to the touch, but if you really scrape it hard, it still come off. Whereas as this, the paint with lean, is completely dry. And the paint with fat, dry as well. Now this is the linseed oil, and it's dry as well. Bear in mind, the one with linseed oil is the one that is actually the stickiest. And that is how you make oil painting dry within a day. Hope you like this video. And if you'd like to know what the next process of oil painting is, which is the underpainting, click this video below to get you started on your oil painting journey.